morning, good morning, good morning, good morning.
Check, 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 check. 1 2 1 2. This thing on. Make sure we live at 85.
You know what it is. First Guy Omaha Radio, First Guy Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
I want it all. Brand new socks and drawers.
Ooh, so nice.
Feel like a new man.
Oh, yeah.
All right. All right, we are live. It seems everything is working right now. So that's what's
Okay.
up.
All systems a go.
Yeah, this is season 7. Love Supreme, fresh edition of First Guy Omaha in the morning happening right now.
Yeah, in the morning.
Wednesday, April 3rd, 2023. Appreciate everybody joining us this morning. All you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners. My name is Paul B. I got Buddi3 Da Gawd in the house.
Hey.
And Kimra Snice is giving us a good morning first and foremost. Good morning to you.
Hey, how you doing, Sister Kimra? You on your morning walk?
Yeah, good question. Good question. You out there? The weather is getting better. The weather's getting nicer.
Yeah, man.
Farmers market about to fire up in about 3 weeks.
Hey.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
Get your fresh produce going.
Yeah. That's my Saturday mornings is hitting that market, man. Getting fresh.
Okay. Man, I'm kind of finding out more about more and more markets out here in Atlanta, man.
There you
Gotta
go.
see what's up.
Also want to hear from you hobby farmers out there too. You plant something in the yard. What's up? What's up with tomatoes?
Man. Specifically the tomatoes, man. My step pops got a garden in the backyard, and tomatoes have taken over.
Yeah, bro. It's an old head thing. All the old heads used to grow tomatoes back in the day. Still fun.
Oh yeah, the green tomatoes on the windowsill. Yeah, I'm hip.
Yeah, that's what's happening. She says it's a little chilly. Gonna do an afternoon walk. Yeah,
okay. Hey. At least you're getting it in. Man, speaking of that, I heard you was chilling with James the other day, Paul. Or Jim.
Yeah.
However you want to call him.
I still call him Mr. What is it? Gymnasium.
Gymnasium.
Not even first name basis yet.
Oh, okay.
But yeah, man. I went there, and I got to remember to do that kind of thing, especially when you're just getting started on a day that you don't have nothing else to do, because it was rough. The whole rest of the day was like I was like, did I get in a fight this morning? What happened? Yeah, man. But hey, got to make it happen. I've been staring at screens for 12 to 14 hours a day for the last 7 years.
Yeah, man. It's important.
Got to move it.
Yeah, I'm used to like seeing my grandpa, who's approaching 80. He's still hitting Gold's Gym. Still, what I'm saying, old head with the belt, with the leather belt.
When I came out here to live with my great gramps, he was 85 and he was hitting the gym twice a week, and he was doing water aerobics and stuff like that by then. But he was
he's still moving.
I went with him to the gym one time. I was like, I got to see what he doing. He hit that machine. He was like, 1, 2. All right, okay, cool. Hey, man, just getting up and going outside and going to a place is enough of a workout when you're 85. So
yeah. Actually, kind of reminds me. There's a new conversation. It's not necessarily new, but it's a conversation bubbling up amongst millennials and young folk about a third place, and they're saying the reason why there's a lot of people struggling with their mental and emotional state, especially like 30 and younger. Because they don't really have a third place. Everybody uses social media as their third place, but that's not living alive together. It's not the same. You don't get that emotional, energetic exchange. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Get to charge each other's etheric fields, your auras.
Well, first of all, I can't give that credit to Gen Z and millennials on that. There's been third place theory for a long time.
Right.
Millennials and Gen Zs have stopped using their third place, which is church. was their third place. You know what I'm saying? They
Right,
stopped, a
right,
lot
right.
of stuff they stopped, and then they don't have it now. They want it. I remember Starbucks took the place of everybody's third place when it first blew up.
Mm.
You know what I mean? So
Mm-hmm.
coffee shops. But yeah, the whole thing is, and then after the pandemic, then that whole theory popped back up hard because your third place is your kitchen instead of your
Man,
bedroom.
man.
You know.
Yeah. People, I
Oh,
mean, I think people are kind of starting to figure it out more and get used to getting back out and the swing of things. But yeah, especially among I didn't mean to like imply that
yeah.
millennials came up with it, but it's a conversation brewing amongst that age group. Marlon Harrison, let me know. Is that something that you've been hearing? You kind of within my age group. Is that something
Yeah.
you've been hearing about a third place?
Well, speaking of Marlon Harrison, he's in there, and we're talking about wellness right now too. He says, "Happy Wellness Wednesday, First Scott
Yeah.
family." That's what's
Hey.
up. Okay, yeah, we
Yeah.
gotta gotta take care of ourselves.
Yeah.
Spring is springing, and if you could do something new, that feels newer to me than January, especially living out here in January 1st, when everybody got their New Year's resolutions.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, nah, I'm gonna stay in house and keep the heat on, and anytime that go outside and exercise yet.
Oh yeah, you still it's dead center of the winter. Yeah, man.
I don't even want to think about that right now. Let's move on. Wanda Lewis gives us a good morning over there on Facebook. Appreciate you coming in this morning. Facebook and YouTube is working.
Yeah,
Tech is working. I got to be happy about that.
yeah.
So do us a favor and share the show over there if you would. Appreciate it very much. Leia Keiser said, "What's up Wednesday? What's going on with
Okay.
you?"
Wellness Wednesday. What's up
Mhm.
Wednesday?
Yep,
Yeah,
yep. That's
yeah,
Pop's favorite day. Pop's favorite
yeah.
day is Wednesday. He got up this very late last night and hit me and said he's going to be sleeping in this morning. So
Okay.
those of you wondering where Pops is at, he's doing a little sleeping in. So let him get that in.
Yeah, read my mind. Read my mind.
Ariel's 402 says leg muscles are important for older self care. You ain't lying. I can't bend them like I used to.
Man.
Being able to climb up and down stairs and up and down on the toilet, man.
Hey,
Straight
hey.
up.
That's
You go
real. That's real.
you go into them stalls and see them bars on the wall right there.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's for them old knees.
Mm-hmm. Or one of them big old orthopedic toilets, like the big ones. You know what I'm talking. You know what I'm talking about.
Orthopedic toilets. That's funny. Ariel's 402 says he's heading to Sioux Falls City, Iowa this morning for a safety meeting. All right.
Okay.
Put your Trump hat on.
Man, yeah, safe travels, man. Safe
Travel.
travels. Man, Sioux Falls City is actually kind of cool. You ever been up there?
No, I have not been to Sioux Falls City.
My brother used to live in Fargo, North Dakota. So you got to drive up through there on the way there, especially like summer, spring. There's a lot of people. It's a real outdoor town. Like there's a lot of people out there getting down, outdoors. It's a river town. Yeah, it's kind
Yeah.
of cool, especially if you're into the outdoors.
Yeah. They don't sound like
Not
that.
really. No. Okay.
Hey,
I'm
that's
kind of a
great.
kind of an outdoors guy, man. Family go camping every year, all that good stuff.
That's where Jason and them be at.
You talking about Jason Voorhees?
Yeah, I don't know about the woods.
All right.
No, it's cool. Kimber says Sioux Falls beautiful in the spring, summer. Yeah,
Yeah, see, man, come on, man.
I can look at a picture. I can look at a photograph, get all the beauty.
Looking out the window, like, hey, that's
It's nice outside.
Yeah.
Yeah, but anyway, Kimber Snipe says, and for anyone, if you have questions about One Omaha, our programming or funding or anything else, I'm pretty accessible. Holla at me. Yeah, we need to have you on the show and talk a little bit more about One Omaha, what's going on, what you got going on. I keep on trying to do that on Wednesday, and then it comes Wednesday, and I've forgotten to get a hold of you, so I apologize for that. But we'll have you on. As a matter of fact, if you want to come on Friday, let us know. You can talk a little bit more about that too. And all the other stuff you're doing. You send us articles and send us stuff to look at
Man.
all during the week. So
All the time.
shout out to Kimber Snipes,
Yeah,
always
yeah.
doing the due diligence.
And also from the nonprofit side, we are thinking about again making more of an effort to see what these nonprofits are doing, see what's out there, make people aware of the good actors and the bad ones.
Very true, very true. Michelle Moreno gives us a good morning. Good morning. Appreciate you joining us as well. Who did I miss? I see Tamika Johnson gave us some sunshine. Appreciate you. Good morning.
Let it in.
Yeah, let us know. I also got a shout out from Beth this morning over on the radio channel. So shout out to the Club 630. They dug the mix this morning. Go check us out at firstskyOmaha.com. Hit the listen button.
Man.
or tell your Amazon Alexa to play First Sky Omaha Radio. Lots of good jams. Put some new jams on there too. Put that Willow on there. That Willow Smith is on there now.
Man, I went back and checked that out. Yeah, it's
Deep.
eclectic.
It's a deep piece.
Yeah, eclectic
Deep piece.
sound.
It's got me looking at her, man, as an artist. My sister sent me over a little clip of her in the studio. So she wrote, sat down, played the piano part, sat down the bass parts, the drum parts. It's a little Prince.
Right, I was just about to say she went ahead and princed that thing on up. Okay.
Yeah, so she's serious. She ain't just a little pop star out there, putting down stuff that everybody wrote for her. She's writing her stuff, doing the thing.
Man. So it is kind of interesting, like, musically, it seems like there is a wave or a pivot happening. A lot of people kind of going away from the trap hip hop. People kind of getting tired of that. I'm starting to see more and more, skin folk, if you pick up what I'm putting down, getting into different versions of music. Of course, Beyonce just dropped her country album.
Yeah, we might have to talk about that. Huh?
That Cowboy Carter. I mean, I haven't listened to it, but of course, it's Beyonce. It's a lot of hype around that thing.
I'm about to say something controversial.
You know the hive. Don't get the hive to buzzing, man.
I wasn't a big fan in the first place in the country thing all the way. I'm all the way out now, bro. I'm all the way out.
Yeah.
I'm glad she making white folks mad, taking country over. That's great, but I'm not with it.
Okay.
Yeah. That took me all the way out, man. It took me out.
Paul coming in with the controversy, man. Let's go ahead and start the show, man. You're gonna get us in trouble. We're gonna get us in trouble.
Hey, yeah, another fresh edition of First Guy Omaha in the morning. I guess half of us are Beyonce fans, so don't cut us off completely. But Wednesday, April 3rd, 2024. It's a fresh edition on Hump Day. Let's get the show started.
Hump Day.
See, as soon as you say something good about something,
I told you, man. She's gonna get us in trouble. I just gotta know. Did anybody see that video? Did the video play for y'all?
The video didn't play. Just the music and the stuck the screen. Beyonce done stuck the screen on. As soon as I said something about her.
I just gotta know. Did anybody we didn't see the video on our end? Did y'all see it? Did it play on y'all end? Because if not. See, Paul, I told you to flap your gums, got us in trouble.
Kimra too. She said she with me. Let the hive be upset. Josh Tank in the house. Good morning. He says, "Beware of the Bajancy." I guess so. We had a good tech morning, and all of a sudden the tech went wonky as soon as I said it. See that?
Okay. Rhea Vincent said the video played for her. Okay. Y'all let us know. Yeah. I thought Beyonce got us.
For those of you just joining us, we do have a lot to talk about today in the news, of course. But we do like to just get together in the morning, say hello, see how everybody's doing, see how you're doing. Let us know how you doing, what's going on with you on this hump day. Just loosen up a little bit. There's always such heavy news all the time.
Yeah, man.
It's nice to kind of get together and just kind of laugh through some things too.
It's good for the soul, man. It's good for the soul.
I've been dreading it, man, for the last few weeks. Just like, I'm gonna have to tell people that I can't listen to Beyonce that took me out with the country album. I can't do it.
Is it the album, or are you just not into country?
I'm not in the country. Number one.
It's a start.
And I'm not a huge. I'm not a huge pop dude in the first place. So the pop aspect of it, and then one of the reasons why I'm not such a pop guy is because of this kind of thing right here. People jump on trends. I started having an attitude when she put a house music album out. I'm like, you ain't listening. You ain't listening to no house music. You know what I mean? Like you they jumping on trends, and I mean that's fine in itself and everything, but and if I dug the if I dug the tracks, then it'd be a different story. But I'd never really been a big fan. I'm a fan of her. I'm a fan of her. Though I'm a fan of her singing. Never
Okay.
really been a fan of her songs.
Hmm.
You know what I'm saying? Like I don't feel like
Okay.
she has the strongest songs out there. And maybe it's just the style. I don't know. But this latest thing, I was like, nah, man, I'm not even going in on this country thing, bro. I can't do it. And there's a lot of stuff out there. Trust me, if we're looking at news every day, I run across articles all the time about how black folks started country,
Oh yeah.
the women that are in country right now, the black women in country making waves. Reason why she got the inspiration to do the country album was these black women that are doing country right now. But I can't get with it. I
Hmm.
can't get with it.
Okay, okay. Bo in the chat, saying, meanwhile, I live in the city ready for the black rodeo to come around. What city is that?
Yeah, what city is that? Because we were talking about a black rodeo in Omaha. Somebody puts a black rodeo in Omaha together, then they gonna that's you talking about things that sell out in Nebraska? Rodeos.
Man, but a black rodeo. I actually been talking to a couple of folk, man. Shout out to Corey Mo, country rap tunes. Again, historic legendary producer of UGK. Yeah, I would definitely love to see like some down south Texas black rodeo vibes. I don't know if you see, they did one in Houston and it looked kind of fun, man. They had the slabs out there. They had the Cadillacs with the big wide. I don't know if you're familiar with how they get down in Texas with the car culture. And
The
you know,
boss hogs with the horns on the top.
man, the boss hogs, man, had the black folk out there in their boots and their hats.
Hey, that's great. And listen, I know all about the Buffalo Soldiers. I know that we had a discussion about what even the word cowboy even comes from. Black,
Yep.
black people started everything in this country. Let's just leave it
That
at that.
part. That part.
There's some things though that white folks took over, and it's just a white folks thing. And it's not. I don't dislike it just because it's a white folks thing, but they whititized it. They put some stuff on it that country is not. If black folks started country, where we're at in country music right now is way far away from that,
Yeah.
and black folks have left that as far as musically and aesthetically and so on and so forth.
You still got your Darius Ruckers out there and things, you know.
Ain't nobody who. That's what I'm saying. Who you got Darius Rucker on your playlist?
No,
Okay.
no. Hey, but that's
You
strawberry.
ain't gonna listen to Outkast and then Darius Rucker's right next to that, the song right after. Come on, man.
Not Darius, but I got a couple country tunes, man. I got country.
Man, who?
Uh,
Give me
I mean,
one.
that strawberry wine, man. And
Strawberry wine.
all
Why does
right,
that sound familiar?
all right. Y'all got to help my man's out, man. Let him know, man.
Hey man, if it ain't like Hank Williams Sr. or Patsy Cline, like that's the last time I was thinking the country was there was some country songs that I was like this is cool, but come on man, I'm not with. Oh, both said Aaron Neville.
Come on, man.
I don't know much, but I know I love you.
Yeah, man. Heather
All right,
Williams, Tennessee whiskey. Come on, man.
yeah,
Thank you,
cool.
thank you.
Hey, that's great. Y'all go somewhere with the country, and also like I said, it's the pop thing too. I don't know, it's cool, man. I'm a fan of Beyonce, but I'm not a fan of Beyonce music. Just never really been. There's only a few times that I was like, she got down on that,
Okay,
and it was
okay.
more like Cadillac music soundtrack and stuff like that when she was singing like Etta James stuff and all that. You know what I mean?
Yeah. He say she did Etta better than Etta.
I wouldn't go that far, but she was good. She was
Yeah, she
good.
was good. She was good. And, okay, Sister Gwen Easter in the chat. See, the folks are here for it, man.
She
She
said, I would
says,
love to see that.
yeah,
Hey,
yeah.
Black
Black
Cadillac.
cowboys be
Okay.
look good in their hats, jeans, boots.
Yeah, see, yeah, no, I'm not with it. Anthony Rogers right in the chase said Ray Charles. I guess Ray Charles did. I guess he was doing some country.
Come on, man. Come
Heather
on.
Williams in the chat, Tennessee whiskey. Okay. Aaron Neville. Okay. Tamika Johnson said I couldn't finish brushing my teeth fast enough. Yeah, I love the album better than Renaissance. Really? I guess we had to listen to it.
Yeah, I haven't. I'm just
Brother
loosely
Penny,
aware of it.
Brother Penny said Pootie Tang says put the mayo on it. Side I tay, my baby.
Shout out to Tippy Tow, Tippy
Bo
Tow.
said Bill Pickett Rodeo, the Bill Pickett Rodeo. Interesting, man. Okay, okay.
Come on,
Uh,
man. Mark Manor, thank you.
what's I know Mark likes it. What's Mark talking about? Ray Charles had a classic country album. Yeah, when, bro? In 1960, what? What's country music done since then that we need to jump on? I don't. Does Beyonce album sound like Ray Charles 1960?
Yeah, no, I'm not hearing that. I'm not hearing that.
I mean I'm fickle with this mess, so I might listen to it and be like, "Yeah, this is dope," and I'll be the first to admit that I haven't listened to it yet. But the concept for me is like,
No,
now you
no.
gonna go country?
I mean, she's from Texas, man.
I mean, so is a lot of other stuff.
Anyway, man. Thank y'all for going on this country trip with us.
Yeah, yeah,
Yeah,
yeah.
yeah,
But it is Wednesday, and it's actually kind of an education Wednesday. We got a lot of stories right now about
yeah.
about schooling. So yeah, and maybe and have they taken square dances out of school? Yeah, I'm still on my country thing. I just saw a video on why square dancing was put in schools in the first place. Very anti-Semitic, very anti-jazz.
Really?
And so they made it a thing that they were go, this is for national pride. We're going to teach everybody how to square. Why do you know how to square dance? Why was I in California square dancing?
They taught you square dances in school?
It was a nationwide requirement, bro. At one point.
Yeah, that's a little before my time. I'll be honest. I was a little taken aback when I went to an HBCU and they taught us line dances. Man, but those HBCU line dances, those hit different. Hit different.
Oh
It's
yeah,
a good
you
time.
know we're gonna put something on it.
It's a good time. They was doing them in the club. I was like, all right, hey.
We started that mess too. You know, it is what it is. It ain't like the line dancing came from anywhere else but us.
All right, all
It's
right.
just variation of the electric slide. That's all the line
Man,
dancing was.
man, the bus stop.
All right. Ariel's 402 says, as far as I'm concerned, these is only two types of music, country and western. All right, we're gonna ask Ice-T about that, Mr. Ariel's 402.
Man.
Yeah, let's get on with it, man. It's 7:22 right now. If you believe in the concept, the time in your country. Kimber said, "Me and my sister are going up to creating a line dance.
Okay.
Or to be creating a line dance. That's what's
Put
up.
it on TikTok. Put it on TikTok.
You see?
Yeah, there you go. There you
Yeah.
go. Anyway, let's dive into what we're actually going to talk about today. Not the line dancing in school, but there are some school things to talk about, as Paul has mentioned. So again, appreciate y'all for jumping in that conversation with us. Yes, Josh and Bo. Shout out to
Hee haw.
man. But anyway, yeah. Again, what are we talking about today? No guest, as you see, no guest today, but a lot of discussion to be had. Yeah. Actually,
Yeah. Hold on.
kind of, I got a segue for you, man. Talking about all this cultural connection and black folk getting into country and things like that. DEI, diversity, equity, inclusion.
Mm-hmm. Let me see how
It's a
you gonna tie this
conversation.
in.
You see where I'm going with that?
I'm gonna see where you're going. Let me see how you're gonna tie this one in.
Okay, well, hey, it's a conversation as far as again diversity, equity, inclusion areas that where are black folk coming in. Actually, the conversation is you kind of hear about a lot of people coming into a country and trying to get into other spaces. Where's the inclusion? Where's the inclusion? A lot of people
Okay.
calling DEI reverse racism, discrimination.
Okay. I'm picking up what you're putting down.
Yeah. I'm at least trying to make a segue. I'm trying to get us back on track. I'm trying. But yes, this is a conversation that is worth having. It's happening on a national level. Actually, there's a lot of stories that we'll be having today that's national that we'll be bringing to the Omaha area. This coming out of the Griot in South Carolina. There was a DEI bill that basically all but shut down DEI in the state, and a lot of black elected officials speaking up, speaking out. And yeah, we're here to have a conversation. Of course, there's been a lot of people in the Omaha area stepping down or being fired from their DEI position. So again, what is happening nationally with the DEI conversation? Also, some other things happening nationally that definitely reflects and was kind of connects to what's going on in Nebraska, especially in the education field, looking at the whole school voucher situation. Things are heating up again. The clock is ticking on this whole legislative session. And again, it's looking like whether or not the ballot measure passes or not, Nebraska would fund private K through 12 scholarships, something that's been heavy conversation here on the show. And of course, it is a national issue. Actually, the Nebraska Examiner dropping an article that reads school voucher proponents spending a lot of money going into this issue to overcome rural resistance in areas like Texas. So again, yeah, a lot of things to talk about in regards to what's going on education wise, and specifically in Omaha. There's some conversations happening with the OPS school board addressing student violence. Again, this is something that shout out to Marlon Harrison, who's working with our youth in the schools. He's been tipping us off to some of the conversations and really issues that those working in the schools are facing, and solutions that they're trying to find. So again, we'll see what OPS is talking about. I would definitely love to hear from any of you chat chimers that may have made it to the OPS board meeting. Again, Kimra, I'm thinking of you, but yeah, anybody else
Yeah,
that might have made it, yeah, let us know what's going on with that situation. Also, we talked about transit. We had Clarice Dombeck on about last week to talk about her run for the Metro Transit Authority, and now the city of Omaha is expected to receive $300,000 for transit-oriented development. Again, still looking at what's going on with transit. Of course, the streetcar is on the way. Will we, again, communities on the fringes, Omaha, North Omaha, South Omaha, be able to get around, to be able to move, to be able to get to some of these areas that are being developed? Of course, they having to redeveloping the whole, not Carter Lake, but Crossroads Mall. Of course, there's been some developments going on West Omaha. Again, what's the transportation looking like? Will people be able to access those areas? So again, a lot of things happening with that. Also, California having some changes. Definitely big news for those working in fast food. Apparently $20 minimum wage. Of course, the cost of living is different. But again, what does that mean for Nebraska? Of course, you always see senators looking at other states duplicating bills. Big shout out to Senator Terrell McKinney, who's been pushing for that $15 minimum wage. But again, is that enough? Is that enough? Livable wages, what we're talking about. So again, a lot of things to dive into. That's just a tip of the iceberg of conversations to be had today. Again, if there's anything happening in your world, in your mind, feel free to let your mind be free, let your voice be heard. Drop that into the chat. We'll try to give it some proper context and dive into it. In the meantime, between time, Paul B,
yo.
what's the word, man?
Do us a favor and share the show on Facebook and YouTube. Give us a chance to reach some new people that want to get on and hear their voice as well. As many people as possible in the chat. That'd be great if you would do that for us. So do us a favor, share the show, especially on Facebook. I guess it's pretty easy to put the show on your page on Facebook. So appreciate that very much. Definitely think about this California thing. $20 minimum wage. It's not much in California, but as far as Nebraska looking in that direction, Nebraska look at the other states, but they don't be looking on the coasts.
Oh man.
For nothing. They don't coast. Remember, we don't coast.
I see what you did there.
Yeah. So they looking at other states on stuff, and it's more like keep minimum wage for servers at $2.30 or something crazy.
Man, that never really made much sense to me.
So can't wait to jump into some of these things. I definitely think it's really interesting in the national conversation for a state to decide they're going to make it mandatory for them to up the minimum wage.
Mm-hmm.
And what that actually is going to look like for certain areas. But, I think that the cost of living, like you said, cost of living in California is so high, it's might not make that big of a dent, but we'll see.
Yeah.
Yep. In the chat real quick, we got Miss Erica Felt saying, good morning, everyone. Appreciate you very much.
Hey.
Tony
happy
Johnson.
Belated birthday. Sorry. Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah. Happy belated.
Is it belated or is it your birthday Friday, or is that just when the party is?
Okay, yeah, let us know. But it's about that time. Celebration.
Like Dynamite says, top of the morning, y'all. Good morning. You missed the conversation we was talking about. We was talking about Beyonce and them, and yeah, it was good. Tony Johnson in the chat says Omaha mayor not letting her DEI protege Keith Station. One of two things she can label North Omaha effort. It's interesting you say that, because I kind of feel like that's some of the reason why they ought to. I would think they would be trying to keep some DEI positions and stuff like that in other states that are letting them go, but they don't even really care about saying, here's what they don't give us the small version of like, well, we're connected to the black side of town with this, like they don't even care about that no more. It seems like so.
Man.
Yeah. Kimmer says she didn't make it to the last meeting because I had a previous scheduled event, but I am running for school board. So reminder that running for school board this time around. Yep.
Yeah.
Black Dynamite is asking, what are they actually building at the crossroads? Very good question. Anybody in the chat know?
Great question.
No. Tony Johnson says, anything on Omaha lawsuit settlement for the brother running learning communities?
Gerald Kuhn?
Oh, yeah. Yeah. It was in the news that they got a settlement on that story there.
Yeah.
That's the latest there.
Yeah, not much in that article, though. It's a very, very short article.
Yeah, it's just recapping what happened and just saying that they have a settlement out.
Yeah.
Anthony Rogers Wright in the chat, good morning, says winner take all proposal in Nebraska would pretty much and any chance Biden has to win and hand the state to GOP. Winner take all proposal in Nebraska would pretty much and any chance Biden.
I believe he's saying end instead of and.
And any chance Biden has to win and hand the state to GOP. Okay.
The Green Party.
Any winner take all proposal. Yeah. I don't know, man. It's a tough one. I still don't know too, because we're in this blue dot, so there's a lot of efforts around us. There's a lot of people that I'm still hearing, even though we've been highlighting a lot of people that are leaning towards voting Republican. There's still a lot of people around here voting Democrat. It's still really kind of up in the air, just like it is in the rest of the country, I guess. So we'll see. Miss Erica Felt says Nebraska looks to the southern coast. Yeah, there's one coast they look towards. Tony Johnson says Shoning hearing about that on the news knew something weird when he resigned from the new city job. I believe we talked about this story before. There's really no new information here except for that they did a settlement, so that thing is over. Miss Erica Felt says, thank you. My birthday was Easter, but I'm clowning all April.
See?
We'll be at Benson Theater Saturday celebrating Apollo style. Yep.
Hey.
Yep. So check that out. Go to bensontheater.org if you want to see what's going on with that, or just pop up. Go ahead and pull up to that. Black Dynamite says, no, I heard most of it. You talking about the Beyonce album? Kimber Snipes says, ask the library how DEI efforts are going. Diversity, equity, inclusion, man. It's the new buzzword around here.
It is. And it's a very interesting conversation happening around it. You want to go ahead and dive into that? Get things going before the show gets too far away from us. Again, big shout out to everybody in the chat right now. We appreciate you. We see you. We thank you. But yeah, let's go ahead and dive into this conversation. This is something that I caught the other day out of the Griot. Mm-hmm. And very, very interesting how it's being viewed, how it's being discussed, how it's being talked about. Again, if you're not familiar, the South Carolina House has passed a bill to restrict diversity, equity, and inclusion initiatives at public colleges and universities over the objections of Black lawmakers who said they weren't included in crafting the proposal. The House's most conservative wing celebrated the bill passing 84-30 on Wednesday after Republicans voted to limit debate and prevent lawmakers from proposing any more changes. So they said, hey, that's it. No more. Democrats said the initiatives commonly called DEI are necessary to make sure schools meet the needs of increasingly diverse student populations, and they called the bill another stand-in for years of woke boogeyman. Republicans said DEI programs try to solve problems caused by discrimination with more discrimination, which is again the interesting thing about this that I'm pulling from this article and really bringing to Nebraska. Again, we have a Republican mayor, Republican governor, and the Republicans are saying that DEI programs try to solve problems caused by discrimination with more discrimination, effectively calling DEI discrimination. However, again, the so-called Black representatives of South Carolina, Tim McGinnis being one of them of Myrtle Beach, saying everyone can be treated equally regardless of their background or of their beliefs in the state of South Carolina. He's the primary sponsor of the bill. But again, so-called Black House members, like Representative Leon Howard, said it's absurd to develop a bill that says everyone will be treated equally without including representation from other people, the people it targets. He says we had no Black people involved in crafting this legislation, so y'all don't know how we feel today. we feel some kind of way that we feel offended about that, said Howard, who's been actually in the House since 1995. So again, he's no spring chicken to that House, but again, being shut out. The Democrat owns his family's 70-year-old towing business and said he knows racism firsthand, as bankers didn't mind financing a car, but balked at signing loans for tow trucks because that could take money out of white businessmen's pockets. Again, this is something that's really connected to Omaha, because we've seen many DEI positions, either, people in those positions either fired or deciding to step down. And the question, has become, what is going on with DEI really across the nation? This is a national conversation. And again, the fact that Republicans, and we all know that the grand old party usually sticks to the script, as we like to call it, calling it discrimination. That, I feel like that is definitely something that needs to be talked about. And it's kind of the same sentiment that we've been hearing in Omaha, with some people saying that, again, making room for so-called black people, or just acknowledging other races, is discrimination in some way. Again, I'm just kind of curious as to what the chat chimers have to say about that. I'm curious, Paul, are you hearing the same thing, kind of the same tone around the conversation of DEI? What say you about what's going on with DEI?
Yes, I am kind of here. I'm feeling that. I'm hearing that. Before it was, I feel like we were right there at the beginning when those positions started opening up, and they were, and especially around, because we started this thing Freedom Summer. When you think about it, 2020
Yeah, man.
is when things changed after George Floyd, and a lot of what's going on now up until right now is because of the fact that we started what we're doing around that time. And so we were understanding, like, right from the beginning, that individuals that were trying to do some symbolic gesture were creating these positions of diversity, equity, inclusion, and hiring folks to come in and do stuff. But our first experience with some of that is when OPS hired Sharif Lawaru, president of Malcolm X Memorial Foundation at the time. And as soon as he tried to do some DEI work, they fired him for it. And then we started really
Man,
looking into that. Then it turned into, then we started, a lot of other friends, a lot of other people that are in the community that we know got hired in these positions. And like Brother Tony Johnson is saying, he just said, he said, would love to hear an opinion from a local DEI people. Seemed a lot of the North Omaha jumped on DEI train and then got quiet. That's our
man,
experience too. We thought, okay, oh, they got so and so in there. Okay, they about to change some stuff up, and they were, and the quiet came because they were getting stifled. They were like, yeah, this is not. We don't want exactly what you got going on. I haven't talked to one DEIA person that felt like they were able to do their job, and most of those people
right.
that we talked to
Had any teeth.
don't are in those positions anymore. So
Right.
that's kind of my experience. Gwen Easter in the chat says I was there during the DEI hearing. There were diversity of testifies sharing their testimony about how DEI helped them, including white students. It is disappointing to hear Senator didn't listen to the people. That's interesting. Ariels 402 says, I hear current laws that allow for discrimination is fine, but no more. Josh Tate says, these people are foolish. Acknowledging race is not racism. Reverse racism is not a thing. Yeah. I
Mm,
mean, thank you for saying the quiet part out loud there, for sure. Um,
right. And that's coming from somebody who will be considered
yeah,
so-called
there you
white.
go. Miss Erica Felt says it felt real trendy in 2020 and 21 and not authentic from the companies. Right.
Mm,
That's right. I definitely feel that way. So yeah, so that's definitely my experience about that. I feel like it's just as symbolic of a position it was and the thing it was. This is a very symbolic thing they're doing here, because they're not really making. I don't think there's a whole lot of difference, whole lot of change. I guess in some cases, some instances
hmm
in those other states, especially, it goes right along with the taking away of affirmative action. That's already been done. So so it's, and like I said, those positions never really held any kind of ability to make some change in the first place. So what's the point of them saying that? I feel like it's another symbolic gesture. We're gonna we're going to make sure that you understand that you we're going to have an opportunity to call reverse racism by doing this. But what is it? What's
Yeah, I mean, kind of the same
mhm.
thing.
This
Go
makes
ahead.
sense,
I was just saying the same thing with CRT.
right? Yeah.
That's same thing with CRT. And, we've seen affirmative action be taken down for similar sentiments. Like again, it's and I would like this is
Mm,
actually something I would like to talk to the senators about like language in certain bills
mm,
and how people respond to certain bills. You kind of find it's hard to draft like bills specifically to aid so-called black people, and any bill to level the playing field is usually attached to this whole sentiment of discrimination and reverse racism, and anything that you do for, let's just call it what it is, so-called black people is viewed as discrimination and
wait a minute.
anti-racism or
I
reverse
just read an
racism.
article about a professor at a HBCU that just sued the HBCU and won for discrimination.
Hmm.
So they chiming up on this reverse racism thing in a big way.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah. Again, it's a national conversation, and Nebraska is not exempt from it. Kimra Snipe in the chat saying it's all the DEI programs and policy design at the Nebraska table. It was uncomfortable as hell, but I was allowed to do what I needed to do, and they gave me a
Hmm.
budget. Hmm. Okay. She's saying I was responsible for all of the DEI programs and policy design.
Yeah.
Okay. Hmm. Did you get okay? Okay. So I see what you're saying. It was uncomfortable. I guess what made it uncomfortable? What was uncomfortable about it for you?
Yeah, let us know. Over in the last job I had, I was instrumental in helping to bring in a DEI specialist there, and there was some, and that was at a company that had real intent to really make some change when it came to that. Still very interesting position to have, and figure out what you got to do, even internally running running certain policies and things by that person, and to make sure that everything was fair and equitable. It's a position that you realize has not been fleshed out. There's not, anybody who's getting hired for as a DEIA specialist didn't go to school for a DEIA. You know what I'm saying? Like yeah,
Hmm.
you got to
Hmm.
bring some other kinds of skills, interpersonal skills. You got to bring some kind of HR stuff. You got to bring, there's a lot of stuff. It's being developed. It's kind of, I've watched it be developed over time as well, like what it is. But it's always been being developed within the context of what rules the company you're doing it for is giving you, and so on and so forth. It might be a good idea to have Brother Station on and talk about the position. He's in that position in the mayor's office, so
Hmm.
get some expertise on the matter. Anthony Rogers Wright says the whole summer of 2020 was symbolic. It was an exercise of white guilt, and DEI was always supposed to be perfunctory BS and nothing more. Yeah, we kind of got caught up in thinking that it was going to be something at the time, a little bit of change here, but it didn't turn out to be that. Just a horse and pony
Yeah,
show,
no,
like Black Dynamite said.
man. I mean, nobody was ever given any real teeth, like any real ability to and really to do what
Yeah,
you know
yeah,
were people going to get fired behind
right.
discrimination, or would there be yeah to do what, I guess, is when you really think
Yeah, we're
about it.
kind of all the same mind here. Tony Johnson is saying, what tangible results came from table DEIA effort? You rarely hear about results, just fact that they are doing DEI. Yeah, what do you know? Kimmer Snipes is telling white people when they are displaying unconscious bias and they are also responsible for your paycheck is very uncomfortable, but it also has to be done. Like I said, we've seen instances where people were fired for it, even just personally. Um, Kimmer says it doesn't have to be explained to, oh, okay, they're going back and forth here. This was internal work that needed to be done. It wasn't meant to be broadcasted to the world. Okay. So that's the other thing too. I was thinking about when I was mentioning that last job I had we were bringing in a specialist. There's the DEI specialist is supposed to come in as kind of an HR situation where you're doing internal work, and you're and making sure
Hmm.
your policies and rules and stuff are equitable, and that you're practicing diversity and hiring and so on and so forth. And then there's the kind of outward facing situation as well that I feel like Brother Lararu was in with OPS. You know, even though he's doing some of that internal work too, but they also are spokespeople for what the company and what the organization is doing as far as DEI work in the grand space. And those
Hmm.
ended up being kind of two different things, a little bit. Even though it was a job that I think that those particular jobs they had to handle both, tackle both. But that's kind of a huge push, and I saw more mess go on in the internal situation where they were trying to make sure that things were right internally. There was a lot of internal fighting that didn't get broadcasted outside when it came to that. So it's people inside these companies pushing back on the stuff that the DEI agent was doing. So, like I said, I think we're kind of all understanding and feeling the same way about this. I'd love to be able to. We'll reach out to Brother Station. I've talked to him a few times about coming on the show, so it'd be a good idea to come on and talk about that a little bit, especially with the climate of what's happening around the country right now with them taking this away.
Hmm.
That to me already was taken away.
Yeah, yeah, and it's interesting we're talking about this in regards to businesses and corporations, because specifically this bill actually deals with education, and again, I mentioned that affirmative action, has been done away with recently, and it's very interesting how this bill is kind of worded. Again, the bill bans colleges from considering DEI factors when deciding which students to accept or which people to hire. The bill, however, does not define what DEI is. The proposal also allows universities to keep their DEI programs, but they will have to report to the General Assembly on how much they cost and how they resolved any complaints about them. It also promises not to interfere with the school's applications for grants or accreditation, which sometimes requires statements of compliance with federal anti-discrimination laws. And when I think about this, I think about the Felicity Huffman situation and the whole tuition
Oh man,
situation. If you remember that recently, yeah, yeah. Again, where certain individuals who had the complexion for protection were getting getting their children, just a bunch of nepotism, getting their children into these high profile universities. Man, and some of the most egregious cases were people like literally photoshopping photos of students playing sports that they never played. You know what I mean? To get them on the scholarships, like they went very very far to get these students into schools. And it's always the question of whose position did they take?
right.
Who could have gotten in had there not been that nepotism in the area. So again, when talking about school and college, is very funny that you brought up the whole um Sharif Lararu situation. Again, if anyone remembers, Sharif Lararu, I forget his actual position, but he was working with OPS in a DEI capacity. And Brother Leo Lewis was kicking up some dust about some information that OPS themselves released about the discrimination or just the lopsided nature of again students who were expelled and suspended, and most of them were quote unquote black students. And again, there was a meeting called at Omaha North, in which Sharif Lawaru kind of facilitated to make sure OPS officials were aware, so would be able to attend to talk to the parents. And next thing we know, he's getting fired.
Straight up, straight up. So I'm looking in the chat. People, Miss Erica Feld and everybody, and Cameron talking about the internal versus external. Yeah, just to clarify, like where I'm coming from, I'm understanding that there is kind of two different versions of that. There's the DEIA specialist that's internally making sure that it's kind of on the level of HR and human resources and what's going on in your as far as your policy is concerned internally. And but then there's also
Mm-hmm.
the PR version of that as well. You know, we're letting the world know that we're being diverse and stuff in our company. That's also been part of that job, either part of that job or an aspect of the PR marketing department's job now to transmit that to the world and do and make things happen, do things, make hires happen, and do things in order to show your outside constituents that's what's happening. So kind of different with the school system. It feels like a little bit because there's kind of they don't seem to be handling communication outward PR work and stuff like that very well. or being very
Mhm.
clear about those things. So everybody's always having to wonder. But yeah, that's and also you got to think about like we just talked about OPS. We just talked about the education factor, and the last time there was anybody in that position that I know of was Brother Lawaru. I'm not sure if they filled that position
Mhm.
after him, but yeah,
It's a good point.
Marlon Harrison said he was
It's a
the
good point.
director of diversity and inclusion for OPS. Talking about Sharif.
Okay, so it was directly and specifically DI at that point.
Right.
No equity.
Anthony
Yeah.
Rogers Rice says 41% of students accepted to elite colleges are legacy students, which means they are white. Which there's been a fight for that as well. If you notice, as soon as the
Yeah.
affirmative action went away, people started chiming up about, well, what about these legacy students? Because
Mhm.
that's a version of affirmative action for them. What about that? And there's lawsuits and everything that's been coming up when it comes to that. So
Yeah, yeah, yeah. Nepotism at its best, man. And again, this is something that is very interesting, specifically in Nebraska, because again, we've learned about the unicameral in Nebraska and how that's kind of unique. And this issue is something that definitely falls along party lines. It says, according to this Griot article, Democratic lawmakers in more than a dozen states are promoting more than 30 measures this year alone to require greater consideration for DEI. However, Republican state lawmakers have countered with more than 60 measures to prohibit or restrict it. That's according to the Associated Press analysis using the bill tractor software Plural. So again, this is definitely something that's falling along party lines, but something that is heating up across the nation as far as diversity, equity, and inclusion. And what's the A? You've been mentioning DEIA. What is the A in that?
diversity, equity, inclusion. I can't remember what the A is.
I've heard it. I've heard DEIA used, but I'm not sure what the A is. If anybody knows.
Yeah. In the meantime, but Kimmer Snipes in the chat says Sharif was replaced by Barry Thomas
Hmm.
position. We haven't really heard much about anything coming out of that office though. So
That's
it has to
interesting.
come across our, as much as we talking about OPA. I mean, OPS,
Hmm.
Omaha Public Schools. It's interesting to me that they that we haven't really heard anything about any diversity efforts or anything like that too. I mean, we could have missed them. Accessibility. Thank you.
Okay. Yep.
Yeah, did know that. We so DEIA is diversity, equity, inclusion, and accessibility.
Hmm.
Um, and accessibility it kind of refers to people of different abilities being able to have access as well. So they're putting in that piece as well, because there's a lot of discrimination against other abled individuals all the time.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah.
Um, and they all need it's all something that's needed. It's needed because what if they're just it seems so obvious to me that it needs to be paid attention to because of the way that companies and education systems and everything work. They work. It's just nepotism. Nepotism is kind of built into everything.
I mean, it's racism is built into everything. I mean, just call it what it is, man.
I mean,
Call it what it
even
is.
nepotism that is not always racist. I mean, just you have a company, you want to hire your folks. You have an organization, you want to put your people in.
I can see that.
You know what I mean? So like, and even like I've been in companies that were black owned companies that we were like, man, we better go on hire some white folks in here so we can, like
Mhm.
just on a business level, even like so we can reach different audiences, different people. But it's just real natural to be like, yo, I'm gonna get my people in here and this and that. And so when you got a country full of folks that are in power that are doing that, then a whole bunch of other people getting left out. Period. So yeah, you might have to do something about that. Seems obvious to me, but yeah.
Well, again, according to that article, there's 30 measures for it and 60 against it. So you tell me where things are going. You tell
Yeah.
me. Yeah.
Reach out to Brother Station and see if he wants to come in and talk about us a little
Yeah,
bit on this subject.
actually, I would love to talk to Brother Thomas as well.
Mhm.
Mr. Thomas was he was a teacher at Omaha North when I was there. I never had him in my class, or I was never in his class. But he was a mentor of mine when I was a part of Omega Squires. And shout
Mm.
out to the bros out there. So yeah, he from my experience, he's a good brother, man. I would definitely love to speak to him because you're right, we haven't heard much about what that office or that position has been doing, and we're going to get into it here next. But there's a lot of things going on with OPS that needs to be discussed, especially not just with suspensions in the preschool to prison pipeline, but again, there's violence going on, especially in OPS schools. That needs to be discussed, and again, OPS is trying to figure out how to address that. Yeah, what is going on with again the man, the discrimination, the equity, inclusion, and apparently accessibility, and according to
Access.
Kimra,
Mhm.
belonging.
Yeah, DEIB. They got some even we even got a new phrase now. So
Yeah, 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 it's new.
yeah, we'll talk about it. We want to shout out, and as long as we're on this subject right here, just remember that Kimra Snipes is running for school board. So if you really
Mhm.
want some actual change, some things that really pop off in there, then make sure that you vote for her to get into onto the school board. You already know her from this show and know that she's going to be in there with them notes and holding folks accountable and speaking up and being passionate about it when she does and everything that is needed for some kind of change to happen in the organization. So, yeah, you want some real change to get down? Make sure we got people in the seats. Kimra Snipe
Man,
running for school board. Can you imagine if we had Kimra and Brianna on the same board?
I was just about to say, man, shout out to Bree Ford. She's been holding down, hold it down.
Hold it down, man.
Yeah.
Let's take a quick break, man.
Yep. Yep.
I don't know why I said that because I wasn't ready for none of it. Uh, so
Well,
we,
while you get ready, we'll kind of tease up what's going coming up next.
yeah,
Again, jumping into this education conversation. Ariel's 402 says no guns in school, all over outside is fine.
man.
Man, I don't know, man. Apparently, there has been a few guns in school. Again, as we mentioned, there is a report from WOWT. Apparently, OPS, speaking of the board, is addressing student violence and figuring out how to discipline these situations. So again, when we come back from break, we're going to dive into exactly what is going on in OPS.
Yeah.
Don't touch that dial.
Let's take a quick break again. You listen to a fresh edition of First Guy Omaha Radio. First Guy Omaha in the morning.
In the morning.
Shout out to Bozak, man, all out there all the way in the West Coast checking us out. I'll play some old school HEAU for you, bro.
Hey.
Stay tuned. We'll be right back. First Guy, don't you touch nothing. Yo, 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 yo. Good morning, good morning, good morning, good morning. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. You're listening to
Hey.
First Guy Omaha Radio, First Guy Omaha in the morning
In the morning.
with that young TB. This is almost the top of the hour already, man.
Yeah, man.
7:58 if you believe in the concept of time. A whole hour's been by already. And here we are, man, coming into the second hour. And I'm glad that you guys are sticking with us and coming on through. Appreciate you. Appreciate you.
Yeah. Chat's going off. Already passed 100 comments. So yeah, let's keep it going. Let's keep it going. Appreciate y'all.
There
Let
you
your
go.
mind be free. Let your voice be heard.
See Von Chapman in the chat. I ain't seen that name in a minute. He said, "Good morning. The white version of DEI is an illusion of inclusion and a Trojan horse designed to control and manipulate the targeted community."
Man.
That's what it feeling like. That's what
Yeah.
it feels like.
It is what it's feeling like. It is what it's feeling like. But again, yeah, very interesting. Very interesting.
Also very interesting. Kimber Snipes says she found out she's related. Shirley Tyree was a blood relative of mine. I served on school board previously. This won't be the first time if I win. That's right.
Yep.
She's been on the school board before. That's right. Yeah. So shout out to her for running again. She knows what that job entails. Like I said, you want somebody that got some experience, passion, and ability to make some change happen. Go ahead and make sure she gets on that school board. Vote for her to do that. That's coming up. So that's interesting. You related to the Tyrees. That's definitely interesting. I'll have to talk to you about that more. Again, if you want to come on Friday and talk a little bit, love to hear from you. And I apologize. I was supposed to do that for today and forgot. So I'm sorry about that. She said, "You reach out to me, and we can sit down and talk. If you can reach out to Kimra and talk about how to make sure that you vote for her, and put all those things out there." Tamika Johnson said, "That's what Pillin does." What's that? What were we talking about? That what Pillin does?
Yeah, give us the context.
Well, yeah. Probably talking about what. Uh, yeah, yeah. I'm not gonna try to speculate on it. Brooke gives us a good morning. Appreciate that very much.
Hey,
Uh, also, Kimra's in the chat saying they're to do
she
what I.
says, "Forget a platform." Yeah, it's kind of
Oh, okay.
broken up. I think she's using voice to text. Just use your fingers, Kimberly. Dang, dang. But somebody asked her about a platform. She says, "Forget a platform. I'm there to do what I do: watch policy and implement, monitor that budget, and keep tabs on the superintendent." Okay.
Yeah, that's what's up. Yeah, shout out. We'll still keep putting it out there to try to bring on members of the school board and also members of the administration. To me, that's the more interesting conversation
Mm-hmm.
from what we've learned about the situation. Why is the administration making the decisions they do? So, shout out to Marlon Harrison and Kimber Snipes and Brianna Fool and everybody that is a friend of First Sky Omaha that brings us some of the information that we need from inside the situation.
Mm-hmm.
So we can kind of make the deal there. And it's expanding for me too, because I got family members now that are teaching in the system, and then family members that are still in the system. So
Right.
even though I don't personally have kids that are in OPS, is still huge. And also just me understanding what I understand about OPS. You live in North Omaha, OPS is a huge piece of everything because of the budget, the size budget they have, how many kids they have.
Mm-hmm.
There's a lot. You cannot pass up, even if you're not directly involved. You cannot be out of the conversation when it comes to what's going on with Omaha Public Schools. Period.
Yeah, and especially when you talk about what's going on with the youth. Again, it's kind of it impacts us all either directly or indirectly, as Paul is saying, and especially when it comes to the violent situation. Let's just call it
Yeah.
what it is. I've asked this question to Clarice Downbeck when she was on about what's going on with the youth on the buses.
Hmm.
Again, I don't know if any of you have heard about it, but I have family members who drive with Matt. And again, there's been some concern about what's going on with youth coming out of school, and especially like North, which has the North Side Transit Center like right down the street. A lot of students walk down there. There's been some fights, people getting on the buses, but apparently it's not just outside the schools but inside the schools. And I'm glad that Kimra is mentioning COVID, because it seems like that's kind of a big central point or a pivot point as to where things kind of started to change or at least worsen. She says, "I had a platform last time and COVID happened. Platform went out the window." And the connection between COVID and what's going on in the schools right now is something that definitely should be addressed. So before we get into this OPS article, I do want to give a shout out to friend of First Guy, Paul Philman, who dropped this article from the New York Times in the Friends of First Guy. So definitely check that out. If you have a chance to, again, go to visit Friends of First Guy Omaha. The conversation is happening there. But again, this New York Times article talks about the national issue, saying why school absences have exploded almost everywhere. Again, the pandemic changed families' lives and the culture of education, and saying our relationship with school became optional, according to this article. And again, that's where I'm thinking of as far as when you talk about exactly what's going on in OPS. As WOWT reports, keeping students and staff safe in school has become a major topic lately within Omaha Public Schools. A big part of that is how to effectively discipline students who commit acts of violence during school and on school grounds. Recent violence in Omaha Public Schools has gotten the attention of the district school board, so much so that they are making some changes in the student code of conduct and help stop this disturbing trend. Again, according to this article, on March 1st, apparently ammunition was found at Benson High School. A few months before that, a 15-year-old was stabbed just behind the school. Again, talking about Benson. Also, there's been some disturbances at Northwest. According to this article, in January, 4 Northwest students were detained at gunpoint when it was alleged that one of them may have brought a gun to school. Apparently, it's a problem that the Omaha Public School Board of Education is trying to get under control. And as a result, the board is looking to make discipline changes in the student code of conduct. And actually, it's not student on student violence. Apparently, a major emphasis is violence against staff. The district will consider if a student who assaults a staff member, whether or not they should be transferred or expelled altogether, even if it's a first offense. Another change that has been proposed is that a student's developmental level, quote unquote, should be a factor in how that student is disciplined. According to OPS Executive Director Amy Williams, this language does not add additional violations or resolutions to the code. She says that it is intended to speak to the critical importance of our teachers and staff in our schools, as well as our desire as a district to support those individuals. Intentional violence against staff is demoralizing and damaging to the school culture and the school mission. So, again, we have Brother Marlon Harrison, who is hopefully still in the chat, who has mentioned and kind of tipped us off to some of the things that they're experiencing with students, as far as, again, some of the violence that specifically staff are having to deal with. And we've talked about some of the bills that are being pushed out there, the question of whether or not teachers should have guns. And I mean, again, it seems to be, again, I'm not in the schools anymore, Paul. As you mentioned, you're not necessarily in the schools anymore. But from all accounts, it seems like things are getting bad. And Ariel's 402, I'm with you on that. He says the world is now pre-COVID and post-COVID. And it does seem like, again, although, school shootings and violence in schools has unfortunately been a thing, specifically in America, for quite some time. But it does seem like post-COVID, things have changed. And it is interesting in this article that they mentioned developmental levels being a factor in whether or not, what discipline measures will be taken, because we do know that post-COVID, there's been a decline in reading levels. There's been a decline, as the New York Times article laid out, in people even going to school to begin with. So, again, it's very interesting what is going on with our schools, and as a community, kind of got to figure out what we need to do to kind of stem some of this stuff. So,
Yeah,
kick it to you, kick it to the chat. What say you?
yeah, they're gonna end up arming teachers if people don't get a hold of their kids.
You think so? You think it's coming?
Yeah, this is Nebraska, bro. Yeah, I absolutely think that's going to be an issue, and then we'll be in some real trouble. But yeah, this is like I said, even though I'm not in the school system, I got family members that drive the school bus that talk about a lot of
Mm,
violence happen on those buses. You got family members that drive city buses, same thing. We hear about these kinds of things happening all the time, and what do they do? We live in a culture where you put your hands on somebody's kid, and then you got a problem. They got a problem. So what do you do when your kid's wilding out doing something to somebody? They're gonna, and especially in OPS where 75-80% of the kids are kids of color.
mm-hmm.
Somebody gonna fear for their life, and somebody gonna get killed. So it's definitely something to it's a big concern all over the place, and yeah, it could have a lot to do with being in 2024 to BC or AC after COVID. But and then the developmental part of it too. They say that a lot of kids had because they were pulled out of school at certain points in their development that made it harder for them to control things. And kids. Everybody knows kids are a little bit more wild sometimes at home than they are when they're out. Sometimes. So you never know what the issue is, but I think they better jump to figuring out what they're going to do about it, because right now, every time I hear about any kinds of solutions here, it's like arm the teachers. That's all. Hear that kind of stuff. So we're lucky over here because we got individuals and organizations like the Black Agenda Alliance that are actually trying to work directly with kids, Untamed, trying to work directly with kids. Miss Kimmer Snipes says, shout out to Brian Riley, who has been has been going down there and engaging with these young people.
Beautiful.
There's individuals and organizations trying to do something individually that way,
Right.
but families need more support. And when families aren't around, when the kids are at school, then you got to figure out what the teachers and staff and stuff are going to do about it, because there's going to be a real problem. Also, she says, Miss Erica Phil says, there are knives found at least twice a week at North, according to emails I get from the school. So the school, you're on the school mailing list. You might be hearing a lot more than we're hearing. I'm not on the school mailing list. So shout out to Miss Erica Fell for that information, because I'm sure they do have to kind of disclose like what's going on at the schools. She's saying email she gets from the school saying that they find knives like at least twice a week.
Man.
In particular schools, she says at North. She's just talking about at North by itself. And so you can imagine there's probably a lot of that going on in a lot of different schools as well. Tony Johnson says, and no communication from Ricky Smith about any issues, how one serving on board, getting paid for youth program and running own youth program is always quiet on youth issues in schools. I don't think he's always quiet about it. I think he's at the 360 meetings as well. Mr. Cameron Snipes says they talk about that kind of stuff at the 360 meetings. I don't make a lot of the 360 meetings myself, so I don't know what's going on. But Kimmer is always present, and she says I talk with Metro about it, and this topic comes up at 360 as well. So there's some talk about it, but that's kind of where I'm getting my information from as far as like hearing about solutions. Most of the solutions I'm hearing, like the biggest, the loudest ones are armed teachers. So Kimmer says. She says, and let's not forget that Mike McDonald introduced a bill to make it a felony if a city bus driver is attacked. And he also introduced a bill to charge 12-year-olds as felons.
That was his bill.
So this is Mike McDonald, who's running for mayor.
Yep, possibly.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. Marlon Harrison, that's who I was waiting to hear from in this conversation. He says mental health plays a huge factor in student violence. Sadly, when we bring this up to some parents, they brush this off and don't want to address the situation.
He says, Brother Harrison, you say that a lot. We talk about this. This is not the first time we've talked about this subject with you, and you always bring it back to the parents. Like parents are tripping. And I have heard that from people that are boots to the roots, trying to help these kids. It always comes back down to the kids that out here acting like they ain't nothing because the parents be acting like they. I've heard that several times. The parents is acting up, or the parents even instigating stuff. Don't let him do this to you, do that to you. Go do that. Go do this. Start a mess. It's usually apple don't fall far from the tree type of situation. If they're wilding out, it's because they wild and their home life is wild. So, and then you got people. And then so it's. We do have to talk about that. Families need support, not just the kids. Families need support. Sue Kessler hanging in the chat says, as a mother of 2 OPS teachers, I can tell you that most teachers don't want to be armed. There are other solutions.
Yeah, I mean, I could imagine. I could imagine people got into teaching because they like if they wanted to do that, they probably would have went into police
Law
work.
enforcement,
Right, law enforcement. Like I'm sure they got into teaching not to be wielding guns.
Right. So then what's the impetus behind that? It's not for law enforcement that these teachers are wielding guns. It's for self-protection. They're trying to that's really what's behind that. They're trying to frame it as like teachers need to take control in case there's a shooter. I mean, this is all really comes out from that. But that's what happens. There ain't a whole lot of school shootings going on in OPS, but There is a lot of black and brown kids fighting and being violent towards. Not even a lot. I shouldn't even say a lot. There are some black and brown kids that are committing violence against staff and stuff like that. So where does the gunplay come in, bro? That's what I'm saying. Like the solution is to arm teachers, and they want to act like it's because we have all these school shootings around the country. But who's gonna end up getting popped? A school shooter or a black or a brown kid?
Man,
Brooke says she's at North. North is where I'm at, and I heard that as well. So yeah, knives at North. Weapons. Miss Erica Felt says, whenever a weapon is found, I get an email because Boogie attends at North.
Right. So you're saying almost twice a week you're getting emails.
She says the principal of Northwest attends all the Omaha 360 meetings. Okay, what comes of that conversation with her, or with the principal? I don't know why I thought it was her. Tony Johnson says he's talking to Marlon Harrison. Might be time to change approach on how you guys. On how you are with parents, how you guys are with parents. Teachers are humans and make mistakes, and now will make mistakes with guns. Area 402 says.
Man,
got to be talked about.
Man. Elsewhere, Ariel's 402 also said armed security at the doors, on the corners, at the entrance of parking lots, not in the school. I'm with that.
I mean, that's tough. That's a tough one too.
Really?
Yeah, man. That's the perimeter officers. If you're looking at the way that schools are set up, they're set up like jails. So that's just your your entry point officers. Then if you're all around with guns and people at the entrance, and they already got to walk through getting waved, getting wand waved and
Yeah,
everything
yeah.
else, bro.
Yeah, I remember before we moved down here, my son went to Wakanda, and I do remember like having to buzz in the door to even like bring him a lunch or something. Like it already kind of is feeling like prison.
Oh, it's I've seen videos where they're doing comparisons about prison life. The bell
School
rings,
life.
you move. School life, cafeteria is the same. A lot of a lot of the food companies that buy food for the cafeteria for school are the ones that buy cafeteria food for the jails.
Man,
Preschool to prison pipeline is not just the concept. It's there's some training involved. There's some training involved in school to act the same way that you act in jail. Mama God says more prison as a solution.
there you go.
Kimmer says, let's see. I'm trying to back up and say that. Tony Johnson says Ricky Smith unlocks and locks the door to meetings. Past meetings attend everybody talking about him. Interesting. I didn't know that those doors get locked sometimes during those meetings. Did not know that. Kimmer says, I should say within the 360 space, there is more than just talking. That's how Brian Riley and his group ended up going down there to engage the young people. They also have U-Turn going.
Yep.
So some programs there.
Yeah.
She says, also, Tamika Renee in the chat, good morning. She says, good morning. Speaking of youth, student violence, can we talk about the continuation of the hearing today for the 15-year-old that was convicted of premeditated murder for a murder he committed at age 13? He's done 7 months of programming, and now DHHS Lincoln YRTC is saying he's rehabilitated and ready to be released to his parents.
This is kind of the first time I'm hearing about this.
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, we'll have to look into that story. That's sounds wild.
Yeah. This is and why is this the first time? We looked through several news platforms at least 3 times a week.
yeah, more than that. Yeah, that's interesting. I think I do remember hearing about something about a 15-year-old and some violence. So yeah, we'll have to look into that story again. Kimber's reminding us she had her program at the library and had parents doing drive-bys on people. So she's one of those people that experienced that boost to the roots. Trying to take care of the kids, had programs dealing with the kids directly, and parents is wilding out. So parents of these kids, that's what I'm saying. It's not just kids that need support; it's families that need support as well. She says, so that means you have people who are going to introduce bills who aren't even listening to the people who would be mostly impacted.
I mean, yeah, that's kind of par for the course.
Brooke says, that's how it was when I went to school in New York. We had to go through metal detectors, and they search our bag before we can enter the school. Yeah,
man.
I think it's Lean on Me, Joe Clark. Welcome to the jungle. That was the one in PS schools out there. You look crazy, like metal detectors and all that kind of stuff in the 90s even. Marianne Williams says every time the guns from outside have to pee or eat or socialize, they become guns in school. Guns from outside. Okay.
I'm talking about having armed security outside.
Yeah. Tony Johnson says, so what are violence prevention programs and parents saying are the possible solutions to address school issues? That's a good question. That's a good question. Like I said, off the top of my head, most I hear about is arming teachers and so on and so forth. I don't really hear too much about any other solutions. But I'm not in those spaces. I got to ask people like Kimmer that's sitting in the 360 meetings and other people. It's another opportunity for us to reach out to Ricky Smith and see if we can get any answers there. And also administration of OPS. I think that's a more interesting ask. I don't know anybody in administration. I'd like to know somebody and have them on and talk about it, because they're really the ones that are kind of boots on the ground making the rules and handling the day to day.
Yeah. And to that point, according to this article, it kind of wraps up saying, this isn't something that it seems like it's going to linger. Again, according to this article, it says the clock is ticking. The board wants to settle the concerns before the end of the school year. So we're talking about a matter of months. Apparently, they are also considering allowing parents of students who are disciplined to access a video that may have captured the incident at question. So again, we're going to be seeing some changes, whatever those changes are, very soon,
Yep.
within months, the matter of months.
Shout out to these groups again, like Roscoe. Kimber says Roscoe and his group are working with some of the students up there now. So shout out to these groups that have taken it among themselves, especially the groups coming out of North Omaha that are, we're trying to handle our own problems. So shout out to the Black Agenda Alliance and Roscoe Wallace's organization, these other organizations and people out here
Hmm.
that are working to try to do something with that. I'm sure that they're working with trying to help kids, but also support families, which is just definitely needed. And yeah, we'll have to kind of, this is one of those evergreen topics we'll keep talking about and keep trying to figure it out and asking people what they see the solution is for this. I'm kind of glad we finally got to talking about it today, because this is something that we've been talking about behind the scenes a little bit, a lot,
Yeah,
especially with Brother Harrison. So
yeah,
and this is to me what this platform, this show and this platform is us to try to get together as a group, as a people, and figure out the solutions to the problems that we don't necessarily want the city and law enforcement and government to come in and have to make them, because they'll come in and be like, well, let's just arm teachers.
man,
Like
man,
we can come up with our own solutions here for real.
or charge eighth graders and freshmen in high school as felons.
And 8 year old and detaining 8 year olds and 7 year olds and all that kind of stuff they do.
That part, that part. So and my final thought, and I have an article to kind of back this. Talking about the whole school voucher and private school situation. Again, talking about school choice. Because again, we're talking about if say we have an instance where a student is expelled because they get into it with the teacher or they get into it with another student, and this is the first offense and they're expelled. Where do they go? What other school options are out there? What else is out there for? And is there a possibility where we have and we're talking about daycare not being plentiful? So again, there's not many childcare facilities. We're having students being expelled. What do they do? Where do they go?
Where do
Private
they
schools
go?
probably ain't gonna take them.
They don't have to take them. Private school does not have to take them.
Right, 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 right. So again, that's definitely where my mind is going as far as again, what other options are there if we have a large amount of students being expelled?
Yep. Well, there's definitely an article out there talking about some of that right now. Is that the one you're referring to? You
Yes,
want to jump
sir.
on?
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Let's go ahead and dive into it. Again, big shout out to everybody in the comments right now because yeah, this is a conversation that has been going on for quite some time, and I'm also thinking of an article back from the Reader days. Bridget Fogarty, if you remember, she's done several articles about what's going on in OPS, and not just the whole brain drain situation as or white flight, quote unquote, situation as far as certain families taking their students out of OPS, but also what answering the very question as far as what other options are there. Of course, I believe there's the Omaha Street School. Of course, we know Blackburn. There are some other schools, but again, what other options are there for OPS? Because we know that OPS is not just the violence, but education. Like it's riddled with issues. So, what other options do we have for families to actually equip their students, equip their children for the future,
Mhm.
and a future that doesn't include stripes and bars, if you know what I mean. This coming out of Nebraska Examiner. Nebraska would apparently fund private K through 12 scholarships regardless of ballot measure under a new proposal from State Senator Luann Linehan, who's pressing ahead with the voucher style plan for school choice. Again, the author of Nebraska's New Opportunity Scholarships Act, again, State Senator Luann Linehan, says she knows that the state tax credit for funding students attending private K through 12 schools risks being rejected by voters in November. Again, that is an issue that will be on the ballot in November. And again, she's trying to figure out how to push this forward, regardless of how the people vote, which is an issue that a lot of people are taking up. Again, saying that she's trying to take really the voice of the people away. Again, ultimately, voters have the ability and the right to vote on what it is that they support. However, again, State Senator Luann Linehan and others, supporters of the school choice law, drafted several bills this year to preserve the heart of the program, regardless of how people vote. Now, each proposal would offset the cost of private K through 12 education with state tax dollars. Recently, Linehan settled LB 1402 as this session's vehicle for those changes. She originally designed the bill to shift the scholarship program created by the Opportunity Scholarships Act to state treasurer's office and away from nonprofit scholarship granting groups. Again, LB 1402 and its Amendment 3016 clarifies that school choice supporters intended to directly allocate state funds for private school scholarships instead of steering them to outside scholarship organizations, essentially eliminating the middlemen. However, public school advocates call Linehan's push an effort to stifle voters' voices. As I mentioned, the advocates contend Nebraskans don't want public funds to go to private schools, which is something that a lot of chat chimers have been saying, whether through a tax credit or directly going to the private schools. They say the latest amendment will start a voucher program that could cut into state funding for public schools or other priorities even faster than Opportunity Scholarships Act. So again, if the people vote that they don't want scholarships for private schools, and again, Linehan gets this bill passed, what could be happening? Again, we've talked to Senator Wayne, we've talked to Senator McKinney, and they're all for trying to offer other options. As I asked the question, if OPS isn't working or it comes to where students can't go to an OPS school, what other options do they have? But at the same time, we had a very interesting take from Dr. Umar Ifatunde on this whole situation, as far as who this bill is for and who this bill will be able to or who will be able to capitalize on this bill. Again, what other schools in our community, what other private schools are there in our community? Again, we always point to Mandela, but that's few and far between. There's not everybody's even able to get into Mandela. They have a very long waiting list, and I know several friends that have children that are trying to get into Mandela, and it's very selective already. And that's just one example. Like, what other examples are there out there? So again, a lot of questions in this whole situation, but if Lynn has her way, it's coming regardless. So what say
And,
you?
and just so I understand, what she's trying to push is another version of taking money from public school to put into private vouchers.
That's what opponents of the bill are saying, and effectively, in a way, yes. Again, tax dollars will be going to private schools.
So I'm just reminding myself about where the kind of conclusion we not really conclusion, but the place that we left off with this before had a
Mhm.
lot to do with us figuring out, like you said, Dr. Umar was saying about what this really means. The vouchers aren't really going to pay for the majority of the money it would take to put kids in any other school. Not to mention, Nebraska doesn't have, or Omaha doesn't have private schools, right? I mean, I'm sorry,
Charter,
charter schools, right? And there's not a whole lot of private schools out there either that is
right,
not that are in our neighborhoods at the very least.
right.
And even if there were, private schools are schools that can deny you entry if they, for whatever reason, they feel like they want to. And we don't have a whole bunch of black schools that this, or a whole bunch of alternative schools or anything that this would that you can pull kids out and put them in. This might the vouchers might open up the ability to make it a little easier for people to do that, and that might incentivize people to open up some schools and start some and all that. But it still wouldn't be a thing that would help very, very, very much as far as we kind of left off on understanding that's part of it. Marianne Williams has been very influential, very instrumental in these conversations. We
Hmm.
watched her journey of deciding she liked things one way, and then decided that she moved it to another way. She's in the chat now saying that's the thing. The anti-voucher crowd refuses to put the work in to make schools better for minority and neurodivergent schools. Fix the public schools. The public schools are always going to need to be fixed. Period. Point blank. Period.
Hmm. Hmm.
Because everybody's not going to be able to take advantage of a different school, no matter what's going on. So, so if there's money being taken out of public schools, I can see why people are against that. When public schools actually probably need more money. We've also talked to the senators and heard that public schools be turning down money that they try to get them. So apparently, public school doesn't really think they need more money, but they they have all these issues and problems that they probably need some money for, and that needs to happen. So whatever. So it's I'm all for having alternative things to do, but I'm also like, yeah, you probably shouldn't take the money away from the organizations that need the help. In the chat, real quick, Ariel's 402 says, I don't care. Public tax dollars are being used for private vouchers as long as the public has access. That's a tough one.
Yeah.
Tough one for public to have access to
The
things like
private
private
schools.
schools.
Right.
The whole thing is they can turn you down. Bo says, no teacher parent extra communication. Really, teachers seem stressed and underpaid. Same here. It's the way it is in Omaha. I don't understand why OPS would be turning money down when they can accept more money that senators are trying to get them, so that they can pay their teachers more. They're just against paying the teachers more.
Yeah, kind of going back to what Senator Wayne said about OPS not expanding or lifting their tax levy.
Right.
Yeah. And also you take in consideration what's going on with the tax, formula. Again, Governor Pillen is trying to lower property taxes, and we know that property, the state doesn't really take property taxes. It's the schools. So yeah, it is kind of a question as far as what is happening with the funding in schools. And also, we just heard, from Senator McKinney that it's possible that schools in Lincoln and other areas around the state could be losing a substantial amount of funds, possibly even closing some programs. And I don't know if it goes as far as closing schools, but, it's looking like things are going in that direction.
Yeah. Marlon Harrison got an interesting take. He says most private schools in Omaha are tied to a certain religion, which doesn't help from other students' religious backgrounds. Right.
Yeah, that's a thought. That's a thought. I was actually amazed. There's a Islamic school here in Atlanta, not too far from my house, and I was amazed because I never even Catholic schools are so especially in Omaha. You got Jesuit, which is right off I believe 24th. I want to say right by the Hope Center, not too far from the Hope Center.
Yep.
You got Holy Name. So yeah, there are a lot of Catholic private schools in Omaha. But yeah, what does that mean for individuals of other religious and cultural backgrounds?
Right. I think some of those schools won't allow kids in if they're not of that persuasion. I was associated. I went to a witness school, Jehovah's Witness school, back in the day. My family put together.
Right.
They allowed everybody to come into that school, but it was kind of a place that the little witness kids could go to, basically. But yeah, when you think about it like that, any religion can open up a private school. What's their policy for that? They may be able to use the dollars that they get from their church or whatever to run that school. But again, if it's tied to a religious organization, then what does that mean for kids being accepted or even what they're being taught? I mean, there's a lot to that. So, the fight. So whatever's going on with all those things, it's such a I'm seeing it now. It's such a small scale compared to what's going on in OPS, which is a huge organization, which is an organization that needs to be fixed, that needs more money, that needs more policy, more anti-discrimination policy, even. That needs to pay the teachers more, that needs to the fight for what the curriculum is going to be. All that needs to be centered around the place where the most kids are. So that's where I'm at. Marianne Williams says, at a minimum, we need more Omaha street schools for those students who have been expelled from everywhere else.
Right.
I would put efforts there first. Yeah. Anthony Rogers right in the chat. I was wondering, I was thinking you was going to chime up on this. He says, it's laughable that people think public vouchers will somehow work in Omaha when it hasn't worked anywhere else and resulted in a decimation of public schools. He says, I meant private vouchers. Right. Yeah, there's not a lot of, we talk about solutions in journalism. We look at other states. There's not a whole lot of places that the vouchers have done anything but segregate out, let white people put their little white kids in schools that don't teach critical race theory. Not that it's being taught, but, that's kind of their retaliation for being able to pull their kids out. We talked about the white flight early in that conversation in the article, and that's a factor too. That's what happens. Anthony Rogers Rice says, I went to a Quaker school as a Jewish person and felt very welcome, but
Mm,
it was not at the expense of taking public dollars from public schools. My mother hated sending me to a private school, but Giuliani was on his anti-Negro machine tip,
mm.
and she wanted to get me out of NYC. That's interesting. Um, yeah, that's I think that's the big factor there. How much money would be taken away from public schools? We got too much going on with the public schools that need help. Marianne Williams says churches have the funding to create private schools. Other groups don't without vouchers. But again, how much is the vouchers going to work? Miss Erica Fell says many private schools effectively refuse to offer speech or any development delay or neurodivergence therapy assistance. They are to contract with OPS, so it's free, but they refuse. Hmm.
That's interesting.
Marianne Williams says that's not true. Vouchers have worked elsewhere. Okay, look it up. So there's some examples out there. Maybe we can bring those examples to the forefront here to see where it has worked.
Yeah.
Still can't see it working for Omaha, but we'll see. Tony Johnson says keep in mind a good number of Black Omaha leaders were educated in those private schools we are discussing.
Mm. Okay. So
Being able to segregate is what has initiated this push for vouchers. Look at the money behind it. Follow the money, Miss Erica Felt is saying. Anthony Rogers Wright says if your kid can catch, run, jump, throw, or dunk, then yeah, private vouchers work great.
That's interesting. And to that point, this article does kind of lay out, according to Opportunity Scholarships of Nebraska, they say more than 40% of its early applicants for, these scholarships are students of quote unquote color. More than half are from outside Omaha and Lincoln, and 40% are at or below the 185% of the poverty level. So apparently these are, individuals from so-called low income families and communities.
Hmm.
But again, to Dr. Umar's point, will these scholarships be even enough? And when you talk about, families from low income communities, it's not even just the tuition, like, books, uniforms, getting them there, transit. Does these scholarships really cover the full cost of what it takes to put these students in private schools? And again, what does that mean for public schools? During this whole conversation, I'm thinking of, school systems like Detroit,
Hmm.
Cleveland, where you have instances where schools are closing left and right in Detroit.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
know what is what does that mean for the future of Omaha?
Yeah, that's real too. I've been hearing a lot of reports, not just from places like Detroit, other states, even more states that got a little bit more money behind them too. It's a big threat, and these schools are actually shutting down.
Yeah,
They're talking about how disruptive it is to a kid that your school shuts down, and you gotta you gotta go kind of figure out how to get to another school and so on. Yeah, that's crazy. Like, well, there's got to be something done about that. It is tied to what we're talking about with Pillin, trying to lower the
property taxes.
property taxes. The property taxes. I feel like that's a whole discussion. They need to figure out how to quit tying those things together because it makes for poorer schools and poorer neighborhoods. Yeah, lots of stuff happening. One last point here. I'm looking at Brother Anthony Rogers Wright saying there's no examples of it working for the masses. We need to stop with the individual success stories. So that's kind of where I'm at on this subject when it comes to OPS. Omaha Public Schools is so massive. It's what's being how are these kids being helped on a mass level? You can pull a few kids out and they can be over at Mandela. There's a reason why Mandela has this big waiting list of kids. And you can start private schools here and there, and some people might get help, but the majority of the people still going to be going to OPS. Period.
Yeah, yeah. And to Brother Anthony Rogers Wright's point that this isn't just as far as a school voucher initiative, it is a national thing. He says the school voucher initiative in Nebraska was funded by a white supremacist, Betsy DeVos. What more do we need to say? There is a Nebraska Examiner article not only talking about Nebraska and the school choice program, but nationally, the school choice program has spread rapidly in recent years, aided by groups such as the American Federation for Children, which was founded by the billionaire family of former U.S. Education Secretary Betsy DeVos, and Americans for Prosperity, which was affiliated with the conservative Koch family, if you remember the Koch brothers. So a lot of conservative billionaires behind this. So yeah, it is kind of fair to question, who really is this for? According to Chantel Lavelle of Ed Choice, which is a nonprofit group that tracks and promotes school choice, she says nationally we really saw that momentum take off a couple years ago. After 2023, there was no stopping it, and it's clear that universal educational choice isn't a fleeting trend, but here to stay. Also, Alabama Governor Kay Ivey signed a program into law earlier this month, and a bill is awaiting the governor's signature in Wyoming. Same situation in here in Georgia. Governor Brian Kemp is expected to sign a bill. Also, Texas has emerged as the most closely watched school choice battleground after Governor Greg Abbott last year made the issue one of his top priorities and called repeated special sessions in an attempt to overcome opposition from a coalition of rural Republicans who have aligned with Democrats. So this is something, especially in an election year, that's going to heat up. And definitely not, the conversation isn't going to go away. And yeah, this is something that we'll continue to look at and keep our eyes on, man.
We understand, man. Let's take a quick break. Like Beyonce said, this ain't Texas. or is it? We have to show them by our actions that we do not. Stay tuned. We'll be right back. First Guy Omaha Radio. First Guy Omaha in the morning.
In the morning. Welcome back. You're listening to First Guy Omaha Radio, First Guy Omaha in the morning. In the morning.
All Buddi3 Da Gawd, all of you chat chimers, ghost listeners, radio listeners, thanks for joining us. It is Wednesday, the 3rd of April already. And we appreciate you coming on in and having some of these evergreen discussions with us. And love the way that everybody has jumped in here. As a matter of fact, Senator Terrell McKinney, put some respect on his name. He jumped in on the conversation as well, saying, has public schools worked for the masses of the black community? It's a very, very good question. Earlier in the chat, Marianne Williams says public schools were created by white supremacists that wanted basic literate workers. Unions were created to keep black workers out of that. That's how it works here.
Man, pretty much reading my mind there, Marianne Williams. Thank you.
Yeah. She says really bad public schools stay open forever, and that's just as harmful.
Yeah, so it's a catch-22, man, because obviously I have to agree with Senator McKinney. Put some respect on his name. Public schools. I'm actually pulling my son out of public school. We found a charter school that actually he and my daughter, my middle daughter, will be going to next year. It's a charter school called Peace Academy, and it's all melanated teachers, all women teachers, all is pretty much all quote unquote black folk in that thing.
Mm-hmm.
Of course, this is Atlanta, so
I was gonna say
it's a lot of that, but we had the intent of, and the teaching style is there's a lot of intention in their teaching style. They have I don't want to go off the rails on what the school has, but as far as
hear about it.
Well, I mean, it is very interesting, man. It is I urge people to look it up. It's called Peace Academy here in Atlanta. And the way that they, they have things like cool down corners to where students who are having just a bad day, there's a lot of mental health and emotional intention put into their teaching styles. They have cool down corners that students themselves can say, "Hey, I'm not having the best of day," or these students are kind of getting on my nerves. I just want to go in this corner and read a book and be quiet.
Right.
They offer those things. They have it's just very not traditional when talking about versus public schools. They have like they just we actually just took a tour last week, and the students apparently just had a business thing where the students put together a product. The classes put together a product, and then they had like a Shark Tank type deal where they would present the business pitch, sell the business, sell the product, and really gearing them up for business and ownership and other things. To where I have to agree with Marianne Williams. Seems like a lot of public school teaching is be a worker.
Yeah. And not to mention it's patterned after prisons, like we talked about earlier.
Yeah, or factories and factories. The whole lunch bell. Bell rings, go to lunch. Bell rings, go back to work. And do mindless work. Do the homework. Don't after 45 minutes. Close the book and move on to the next thing. But where is this? Where's the connection? Where is the real context behind the education? Which is something that Peace Academy does offer. So again, it is very interesting. Public schools aren't really working, but what other options are there? And how can families take advantage of those options without having to come out of pocket?
Well, that's why I wanted you to expound on that a little bit, because we talk about solutions, and we look at a place like Atlanta. This is the advantage of having this Atlanta Omaha connection that we have here at First Sky, where you can look at how something is being done out there and see and think about if that could be applied to Omaha and what that would look like here. Is it a successful operation out there? Why? What are the circumstances around it? I'm sure that they have problems with their public school system as well.
Hmm.
But it's an area that's a similar size city, but seems like it has way more options when it comes to charter schools, private
Hmm.
schools, and alternative schools.
Yep.
So it's interesting to see, is that the issue? Can we turn into Atlanta that has way more options to choose from to try
Well,
to help?
Peace Academy is a charter school, so as far as I don't think, as we mentioned, charter schools are legal in
Right. Well,
Nebraska.
that's what I'm
So
talking about, is to make them legal. Is that
mhm.
part of the solution, is what I'm saying. So we can look at what things have been made legal in other places that are similar, and then try to gather whether or not that's a solution for us. It's a question that we kind of got to hypothetically answer. Just imagine if we implemented that in Omaha, and also see some actual stats and data and results coming out of Atlanta on that. I hear you talk about being excited about being able to put your kids in this school.
Yeah.
uh, you know, and you haven't even really been there long enough to know like the deep seated issues that the public school system has. But it's just an alternative that could, we have this general feeling about what the public schools bring and why they're there. Like you were just mentioning earlier, Marianne Williams talking about how it's there to build workers. There's the prison connection to it. Just in general, we know these things, and then of course we get into the specifics of the problems that each individual public school system has. What are the solutions? What can we do? What are other cities doing?
Hmm.
So
Well, as a parent, one of the big things I'm excited about is being able to be more included in. And somebody asked earlier what was going on with PTA. Like, is that still a thing? The Parent Teachers
right,
Association. How involved are parents in public schools? And one thing that I do know is, although in the public school, like a couple of field trips that my son has taken, I've been able to chaperone and things like that.
mm,
But I haven't felt, I got to wait outside the door and buzz in to even pick him up. So I don't really feel welcomed as a parent to even come in and see what's going on in the classroom
right,
and visit during lunch, which is the complete opposite in this Peace Academy charter school that he's about to go to.
right.
The tour we took, she was like, "Yeah, come in. Just let us know when you want to come in. If you want to sit in class, if you have some ideas, like we welcome parents." And that's something that I don't see in public schools. So that's
Yeah,
one thing as a parent I'm excited about.
sure.
But again, Marion Williams says charter schools are public schools, and that would be the better choice. But the same anti-voucher crowd hates those too.
That's interesting.
It is. It
Yeah,
is.
let's jump back into the chat because it's definitely going off here.
Yeah, man.
First of all, Zane says hello. What's up, dude?
The dude.
Man, he gave his first talk yesterday, bro. He got up there
Man.
and did a Bible reading.
Man.
Got
Look at him.
down, sir.
Man, looking
Yeah,
sharper than a tack.
yeah. They said, "Look, you need a stool, bro." Yeah, yeah, yeah. Bring me the stool. I'll step on up, and yeah, he got up there and got down. So shout out to Zane. Congratulations, very proud of you, little man. Appreciate you. And that's a actual product right now of homeschooling, which is another piece of this thing that we never
Mm.
really talked about too much too. He's an advanced reader, and I attribute that to my sister teaching him, homeschooling him, and getting him up to speed way faster than a lot of other kids. His reading capabilities. So
Mm-hmm.
yeah, homeschooling is a huge part of this thing too. And is there any funding and vouchers and things for that? Because we're essentially talking about alternative situations here.
Yeah.
We kind of need them because of what's going on with public schools, but how to get to them is kind of the question.
Yeah.
Anthony Rogers Wright was chiming up to what Senator Jerome McKinney said. He said, I have to disagree with Senator because if we go down the road of privatizing everything, we will lose all public power that we have over anything. People need to stop thinking everything can be commodified to improve it. As a socialist, I reject the idea of a capitalist school system.
Okay.
I don't think that we are talking about going down the road of privatizing everything. I really believe this conversation is talking about kind of both. The public school system needs to be fixed, but there needs to be alternatives as well. Mama God in the chat said, Buddy went to a predominantly black staff public school in Charlotte.
Yep.
They even had foods cooked by us and common to foods we see at home. He loved it.
Man.
Man.
Black eyed peas and greens, man.
Say what?
Yeah, man.
You didn't get them rubbery pieces of pizza bread and
Nah. And dried chicken nuggets? Nah,
come
man.
on, man.
It was eating good.
Marlon Harris is in the chat. He says, "I know a lot of schools are teaching business, STEM programs, and trade programs. Blanket statements that public schools are teaching are not working is very disingenuous." Appreciate
Okay.
that point of view. Yeah, you're right. I mean, we can't take it away from them. There's a lot of teachers doing a lot of good, a lot of stuff that's happening that is good. I think when remember talking to Senator Terrell McKinney, Senator Justin Wayne, they're just saying it doesn't work for everybody.
Mm-hmm.
But the problem is that there's a lot of kids that's public school is failing as well. So yeah, that's part of that as well. Anthony Rogers Wright says Nebraska ranks number 7 nationally in public schools. The problem isn't all the schools; it's some of the schools. Why aren't some schools performing as well as other schools? Are tied to local tax bases again, that property
Man.
tax situation. In that, pay teachers a minimum of 75 large statewide, and things will improve. So that's true too, man. I was looking at some stats and some stories about where Nebraska is, how Nebraska is looked at by the rest of the country, and where we stand in a lot of stuff. And because of schools in other areas besides, what they would quote unquote say inner city Omaha OPS situation, they look like, sometimes we look like we ain't got that big of a problem here.
I mean, yeah, when you look at West Side and Millard and the other schools, yeah. But OPS, one of the largest school districts in the state, if not the largest school district in the state, um, you can't overlook that. You can't overlook that.
That's real.
But before we get out of here, because the show is kind of getting away from us on the tax issue, yeah, man. On the tax issue, definitely wanted to touch base on that because it is connected to this conversation. And Brother Anthony Rogers Wright has a point as far as the tax base and why certain schools, again, if you remember in the violence article, they talked about Benson, Northwest, North. Where are those schools? Let's be honest. Where are those schools? And again, we got to pay attention to what's going on with the property taxes because apparently there's a tax credit and a lot of people are getting the money that they paid to property taxes back, which means that's less money going to schools. Again, according to this WOWT article, excuse me, Charlene Stender is a person who helps people, again, 100 people prepare their taxes each year. And each year she shows some people for the first time about the Nebraska property tax credit. I know we have some homeowners. So are you familiar with this? Again, the Nebraska property tax credit passed back in 2020. She says if you didn't know to go there, you probably wouldn't notice, explaining that people don't automatically get refunded, but those funds are available. They must submit an additional form to claim the credit when filing their income taxes. So if you haven't filed your taxes yet, this is something you might want to listen up for. Again, the credit allows people to get back 30% of the taxes they paid toward schools and 55% of the taxes they paid toward community colleges when they filed their Nebraska state income tax. This year, about $560 million is available, according to Nebraska State Treasurer Tom Brees. Data from the last year shows about 46% of the money set aside for property tax credits remains unclaimed. So again, for example, a home valued at $300,000 in a district with a $1 levy for K through 12 schools and a 10-cent levy for community colleges, the owner would be paying a $3,000 in taxes for schools and community colleges. But if they apply for these tax credits, they get back more than $1,000 for 2023. So again, this is kind of the other side of OPS, again, not expanding their tax levy, and how Senator Wayne, again, who, and we usually don't, but I acknowledge, Rick Fulton's comment earlier about why Luann, Luann Linehan and Senator Wayne voting on the same thing, because Senator Wayne is saying, why is OPS not expanding their tax levy, not bringing in more funds?
Yeah.
What does that mean? Like, how do we approach that? How do we again fix this issue if again OPS is losing money? And apparently, if this this scholarship opportunity goes through, they could be losing more money. So again, that is not going to help the situation. So
It
what do we
is.
do?
Yeah, very good questions. Yeah, I appreciate that piece as well. Just wanted to acknowledge Senator McKinney is was in the chat saying, I'm not saying prioritizing everything, but there's good and bad in both systems. I just hate that people don't tell the full story. He
Right.
says, I'm not saying privatize everything. Oh, the same thing. Yeah.
Mhm.
So yeah, of course, yeah. We I think we know where you're coming from on not on that. Of course, not privatizing everything, but there does need to be some choice, and yes, and I do feel that's what he's saying. Really, is kind of like what we're doing here with this particular evergreen subject that we keep coming back to, keep talking about, and trying to get further into the discussion about, come to some conclusions about. It's not a situation where we're endlessly debating this, but we are figuring some things out as we go and building on that. And that's because it's such a nuanced situation, and we have to talk about all of it. No,
Mhm.
no news articles that I have come across yet is talking about the grand scope of that. It's just talking about what one group wants to do, and the one that are about the vouchers and the fight between them, and so on
Mhm.
and so forth. But really, both things, all things need to happen. OPS needs to allow, decide they do need some help, and they do need to take more money.
Yeah.
Lawmakers need to get them more money. There needs to be a discussion about whether or not money should be taken away from OPS for vouchers. There needs to be a discussion about vouchers being worth more than what they're trying to make them right now, so that people can actually afford to get kids into some of these places.
Right.
The charter school situation needs to be talked about. The
Yes.
tax situation needs to be talked about.
Yeah, it's just a lot of fronts, man. It's a lot of fronts. But I will say again, this is an evergreen conversation, a conversation that we had many times. But this is a question that we haven't really asked in the past. And since we got Senator McKinney in the chat, I'm kind of kicking this to you, Senator McKinney. What is the conversation about legalizing and clearing the path for charter schools in Nebraska? Why is that not a thing? And what is the conversation surrounding that idea? Is there support for charter schools, or is there a lot of opposition? And why?
Yep. Senator McKinney comes on to the show on Mondays. If you didn't know that about this show, we're on Monday, Wednesday, Friday from 7 to 9. Senator McKinney and Senator Wayne usually come on Mondays to do kind of a legislative report. So maybe we can address that question when you come on. Give you a few days to think about that and come through and talk about it a little bit if you're still listening. But yeah, it's really an enlightening conversation that we have. I've learned so much with the senators coming on this past year and a half, and I thank them for taking the time in the mornings on Monday to come through and let us know what's going on. So
Yeah, man.
hopefully we're going to continue that and continue the conversation on all these things. I just got about a minute left. Clarice Jackson in the chat, I didn't
Hey,
acknowledge a little earlier, said I can answer that. Support school choice and have worked on it since 2014. Okay.
Mm.
supports school choice. Brother McKinney is here. He says there hasn't been a conversation, and I doubt there is support. Okay.
Mm. Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
Appreciate everybody's comments on this. It is coming up on the 9 o'clock hour here, so we're going to go ahead and get out of here, and we'll pick up the conversation and continue this on Friday. Because as you can see, this is the very detailed one for
Yeah.
sure.
Yeah.
And especially with the article coming in with the this situation with the tax and the budget, I can't wait to talk to the senators on Monday about the budget discussions that's been going on, and this thing that's happening with Pillen trying to lower tax, property taxes, and
Hmm.
doing stuff like upping sales tax and stuff. He's upping other taxes of 1% and all kinds of stuff going on here. It affects us all the way around. So
Right. 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 Right.
yeah,
Also, kind of a hap, but also tied to what we've been talking about. Clarice Jackson in the chat also saying, I'm inviting the both of you to the Black Literacy Matters conference next week. With only 14% of Black students are at proficient in reading. We need to understand we do have a literacy problem, and we do know that literacy is often tied to prison. Again, as Dr. Umar tipped us off, again, he is a school psychologist and works with preparing parents and families with students IEDs and or IEPs. And he says by third grade, if your literacy level is lacking, or if you're behind literacy by third grade, then the chances of you going to prison skyrocket. So yeah, this is something that definitely needs to be addressed, because we know they're building more prisons in Nebraska. So again, this is all connected. Going back to the whole rant I went on last week, we are talking about modern day slavery. This is what's on the back end of this conversation. If we do not fix this issue, they have a place for our youth.
there you
They
go.
have a place for our youth. So what are we going to do about it?
There you go. Shout out to everybody that's jumped in the chat. Marlon Harrison is really kind of like wrapping this up in a nice, concise sentence. He says, whether it's private schools, public schools, charter schools, the problem that these students are facing will not change. So we got to do something about it. Shout out to Brooke, homeschooling little man. I guess if you're going to be, if your reading level is indication of prison, he's probably going to be good, because
Oh yeah.
he's reading very, very well right now and has been for a little while now. So shout out. It's a testament to homeschooling as well. There's different alternatives. It would be nice for parents to have some support for that too. I think there is some out there, because there's a lot of homeschooling, believe it or not, a lot of homeschooling in Nebraska, especially in greater Nebraska,
Man.
for various reasons, religious reasons and all kinds of things. And so there's actually whole communities of that situation, and money that is there to help parents and to be able to do homeschooling as well. So bigger conversation, just a bigger conversation all the way around.
Man.
We'll continue to have it. So shout out to everybody who's joined in on this conversation. Really appreciate it. It is 9:02 right now, if you believe in the concept of time. So we're going to go ahead and get out of here. And Buddy, you got any words for the people?
Yeah, I want to give a shout out to my little man as well. He was he started out as a homeschooler too. We homeschooled
Hey,
we still homeschool actually. They on top of their schoolwork, they have homework that they do at home as well. So again, it's important, man. It kind of goes back to what Marlon Harrison was saying, man. It starts at the home. What are these parents doing, and what support do they have to do it? So we can definitely continue to have this conversation. Big shout out to all of you. Again, catch the same time, same place, man. Monday, Wednesday, and Friday, right here on First Sky Omaha in the morning. Also catch us on social media. Again, we are posting and getting more active on our TikTok, on our YouTube, even thinking about making a return to X, man. So again, let us know where you are. We'll try
hey,
to meet you there.
Mama call him Twitter. I'm gonna call him Twitter.
Twitter, X, whatever you want to call it, man. The X name Twitter, however you want to call it, man. We're going to get into it.
The only
And
X I acknowledge is Malcolm.
All right, man. Paul, go ahead and take us out of here, man.
That's what's up, man. Appreciate it very much. Mama God said, thanks for the discussion, First Sky fam. Have a great hump day. Appreciate you. For all of the, we said it earlier, Pops called me last night and said he's going to be sleeping in this morning. So for those of you who are wondering where Pops is at, he's sleeping in. Everything's all good.
I mean,
Miss Erica Fell says, great show. The Black Literacy Conference is going to be important and powerful. If you can go. Drink water, be good to yourselves, and love on an Aries.
letting us know it is the season. Aries season is upon us.
That's what's up. The show was brought to you by Drunk Ship Coffee. Shout out to the family's coffee company, Drunk Ship Coffee. Go to drunkshipcoffee.com .com and order your beans, man. You gotta get you a grinder for this, but order your beans because that's what it is. They've sourced this from one farm in Ethiopia, the birthplace of coffee. These are beans that are not over roasted, which I'm learning. We're learning more about the coffee industry as we go, man. We're finding out when you get them really, really dark roasts, it's because it's roasting all the good stuff out of it. So,
Man.
A lighter, the way they do it in Ethiopia is a light roast, so that you can keep all the nutrients and all the good stuff that is in coffee, and also keep the flavor and aroma and everything else too. So, shout out to Drunk Ship for doing this work and bringing some real history to the company, black owned coffee company, Drunk Ship Coffee out of California. Go to Drunk Ship Coffee and order your coffee today. And we are working on a giveaway. As a matter of fact, a little contest happening. So get ready for that. We'll do some giveaways as well. So shout out to them for sponsoring First Sky Omaha, the In the Morning show, and also for sponsoring the TikTok headlines, the news briefs that we do over on TikTok. Go definitely hit us up over there on TikTok and like and subscribe on YouTube. If you miss any parts of this show, please go back and check it out. It's in its entirety on Facebook and YouTube. And when you do, go ahead and take a look at all of the chats on both of those platforms, because there's a lot of great questions, great information, great conversations going back and forth, all this good stuff. So appreciate it very much. Marion Williams says, thanks, First Sky. Have a great day, y'all. I appreciate you. I appreciate you. Have a great day, too. And appreciate everybody that came today. Shout out to the Omaha tribe elders for allowing us to be on this land and speak while we're here. Shout out to our elders for allowing us to speak before you. And shout out to the chat chimers for allowing us to speak with you on all these subjects we call evergreen subjects we continue to talk about, try to come to some conclusions about, so that we can find some solutions and try to make things better in our neighborhoods and in our community. So with that, we're going to get out of here, but thank you very much for that. Join us Friday, 7:00 for a fresh edition. We will possibly have a special guest on. It's not confirmed yet, so I'm not going to say who it is, but we're working on that. But in the meantime, between time, the discussion will go on with or without someone, because it happens between us and y'all, us together. We really appreciate everybody that's joined us today. We're going to get out of here. Take care of yourselves. Peace.
Peace.
By the way, Vanguard. This is protected by the red